Hello, everyone. I'm Veronica, and here's Lori Dovey, and we want to share with you spiritual perspectives from MIRICRIS on what's happening politically, what's happening around the world. And I think it can be amusing, but it's really kind of a dog's breakfast right now, isn't it?
Yes,
Everything is in turmoil, and we want to talk about it. Hi,
yes.
Lori. Are you ready
Hi,
to be in turmoil?
hi V. Hi V and team. Right now we've got Mike Johnson in the House, sitting on the hot seat, wondering if he's going to be re-elected as Speaker of the House or not.
You know, it's really interesting. As soon as you say Mike Johnson, I get a huge stomach ache, which is not mine. Actually, it's his.
Yes.
And I'm going, okay. So I think the first response that we want to say is he not only won't be reelected or repositioned, but he is taking a lot of attack from within the whole Congress. It's really hard for him right now.
Well,
And
this
it's
is good. Yeah.
smashing his ego like nobody's business. Pardon me?
Well, this is good. He's taking a lot of hash because he's Donald Trump's whipping boy.
Good. Yeah.
He'll do anything Trump wants.
Well, I think that he is very silly. That's called my opinion, but he's not going to do very well
No.
because, as you know, what's going on in the House, in the Congress, is very combative, both sides in the middle of it all. So he's sort of being the whipping boy, not only for just Donald Trump, but for them all.
Yes.
But
Well,
you lined
and
up a lot more questions for us. Shall I go into MIRICRIS or should we talk more about the
just
Congress? And
just one thing, because it's sort of important. It's happening right now as we speak.
right this moment. Mhm.
Hakeem Jeffries was put up for the Democratic candidate. Um, sorry, I'm tangled, but I'm boiling hot. Um,
But it's very interesting because what you're talking about in Congress is a big tangle, and you're tangled all up with
I
your whole
know I'm
thing.
very tangled,
How
but
appropriate.
let's look into Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, chances of him getting elected are probably pretty slim, but maybe not. There's
I'm
not
not
a big
sure.
there's not a big difference between Democrats and Republicans right now. There's like 3 seat difference. I think it's 3 seats. That's all.
But, you know, there's another thing you said that's very important, which is between Democrats and Republicans, there really isn't that much difference in what they want right now. And it looks like they want reliable. There's some Republicans are absolutely terrified at the way everything's gotten so shaky and crazy, and they want to pull it together. And it looks like Hakeem Jeffries, not 100%, but he looks like he has a really good chance of being in there because he's got a stability. He's a reliable kind of being. And
Mm-hmm.
Mike Johnson is so much, as you said, a
He's
pawn in the Trump
he's
game.
MAGA. He's complete MAGA, and Hakeem Jeffries has a lot of honorability. Absolutely.
And the other thing is that with Elon um, doesn't want. It's interesting. Can't quite figure this out yet, but Elon does not want Hakeem in there because he'll lose his power. But there are others in the Congress who want him to lose his power. So there's a kind of an interesting tangle going
Ah,
on. You know, talk about tangling your scarf and your.
yes.
So I
That
don't know what's going to happen, except I think we could be relatively excited because it's showing a lot of push from more integrity in the Congress. Do you see what I mean? There's
Mhm.
a lot of resistance to Trump, a lot of resistance to the MAGAs, and a lot
Mhm.
of resistance to Elon, which
Yes.
unfortunately splits a lot of response, except the good part is it does tell us that the lay of the land. So they may not come up with a decision quite yet. And they may, but I think it will be Hakeem.
Yeah. And it could go many rounds. It could go into days. And it
Yeah.
might even January 6th is the certification of the vote. And it could even, who knows if they'll even have anything figured out by then.
when we look at it, I feel like people don't want it sorted out yet. You see what I mean? There's a steeping of opinion, a steeping of on this hand, on the other hand, and a steeping on how to get certain people out of power. When I say steeping, it's like people are cogitating at a fairly deep level what's going on. And there's a lot of hustle and bustle and chit chat going on amongst some of the people that are sitting in the House or the Congress. So we'll see. It's quite an interesting. I think it's very interesting, Lori.
Yeah.
That this doesn't happen very often. You know, it's really stalemated.
Yeah, and it feels like it might be the beginning. You know how we keep seeing this mayhem and this confusion going into the inauguration. This just feels to me like maybe the first step. We've got several steps before we get to the inauguration. The certification, there's all this stuff going on in the background.
Well, I don't believe, the way I'm seeing it, the way guidance is talking right now, I don't believe the certification is going to go through anyway.
Wow.
Why? Because why would you say? I would say that the whole Russian interference and that kind of thing is so almost without question. And it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Right, but it needs to come out into the news and into the public, right?
But they're afraid to put it in the news, you know that.
Say it again, you broke up.
Our news is so controlled and designed for marketing and so on. They're afraid to put it in the news. It's going to smash up a lot of people's ideals. And, you know, I just really don't think you can count on the news to speak of what's real.
So you feel like it's percolating in the background amongst the Congress and the politicians about this whole Russian and who
it's like this.
Who
hey,
knows?
This is a
and
very
Elon
obvious
Musk
question.
Interference. This isn't just Russia.
No,
this
no,
is something we have to realize. This is a domestic.
Except that that's the one that is going to take the most attention right now, Russian, because they're not willing to do the Elon Musk one yet.
Oh. Well, somebody, there's people out there who are happy to do the Elon Musk one, i.e. the Tesla truck explosion. You know, I mean, what a friggin' symbol that was. Yeah.
But I'm saying to you, what it appears that the major decision-making is going to be about the Russian interference because people feel more secure complaining about that. The whole thing about Elon Musk is a whole other level. And we're seeing that he's going to be dealt with by April. Yes, he's undergoing a huge thing, but that's a little different than this particular House, with Mike Johnson. It's quite a little different in terms of the focus and the courage it takes for people to choose that focus, because there's a lot of push-pull. You understand?
Yeah.
Interesting time.
Yeah. Should we call in, are you up for calling in MIRICRIS? And we'll keep this discussion going?
Yeah, I really am, because they have a lot to say.
I bet.
I love to, and I'll tell people at home, I love to rub my hands together because that motion through the body really makes it easier for them to come through, and it makes it easier for me to get out of the way. And it's all vibrational. Okay. So we are here. We have been eager to speak with you today. This is a time of, what would we say? This is a time of very intense turmoil, not only in America, but all over the world. And we're saying to you that the bubbles and the effervescence of change are all over the world, including in Congress. That's how we would like to say it. And that there are many beings in Congress that are, perhaps we could say, fighting with each other and arguing with each other, not because of the way their normal society has run, but because the disturbances, you call it the disturbances in the frequency and so on are rattling people. It's very, very, very disorienting for a lot of people, including Mr. Trump. You understand?
Hello, MIRICRIS.
Hello.
Welcome.
We are so pleased to speak with you all today.
Let's just resume a little bit with Elon Musk. That's where we had left off. Elon is now in the spotlight in Germany because he has given money to the far right party who identify with Nazis. And this has created a huge kerfuffle in another part of the world, in Germany, because he's meddling. He's meddling in other people's elections.
He's not only meddling, he's controlling.
Yeah. Can you get a sense of how Germany is going to respond?
They're almost, it seems like an odd combination of, it seems as if they are stunned by the depth and the demand that Elon is making and how he has so much behind him. So they have some extreme right-wing people who are so excited to bring back the Nazi situation, and other Germans that are just sick. You understand? Just sick. So it's going to be quite a bloody mess. We say bloody mess, not necessarily that there's going to be bloodshed, but there might be over this. And part of it is many people have that historic memory on what Germany has done with its people. And that Elon is now walking in like a very wealthy Hitler in a way. Do you understand this?
Yes, an American oligarch who is now meddling in not just the US election, but in the German election. And there'll be
he has a big dream of controlling a great deal of the world. Do you understand that? Very dangerous, very dangerous. And there are many beings around the world that are conscious of that, that are really understanding that and are afraid of that. They might grapple with one another and hate each other, but the last thing they need is a world dictator.
And how will they deal with Elon? Not on a karmic level. How is Elon being dealt with?
It's very interesting. I'm not sure about the karmic level at this point, but it's very interesting to watch how he is being, now your Biden has been like this as well, which is he's being undercut by relatively quiet, powerful beings in different parts of the world. And in the undercutting, they're pulling the rug out from under him in several ways. And we see that by about March is going to be fairly, I talked about bloody. March is going to be fairly ribald in the way people are set against each other. But by April, Mr. Musk looks like he is pulled apart, that he's coming undone. Wow. And that his hold, and we're talking about the whole world here, his hold on the whole world is being pulled out of his fingers. And he is being he's probably going to be quite unwell, just as your Mr. Trump is. Wow.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, the Germans they are not afraid to take to the streets. That I live in
so
France.
Conscious
I know
of
that for sure.
Yeah. And they're so conscious of the danger of Mr. Musk. You understand that?
Yes, absolutely. And
you know, part of his problem, Lori, is he doesn't have a conscience for people. He doesn't have empathy. That's the terrifying part.
Yeah, I can completely see that.
Yet in his words, he's always saying he's doing this and this for the sake of humanity, for the survival of humanity. But we're suggesting that he is a pretty dangerous person to put any kind of survival in the hands of. You understand?
Right.
Mostly because he doesn't have empathy and he's cold-hearted, and he wants to know that there's enough power to accomplish whatever project he's setting up in his brilliant mind. He has a brilliant mind. You see, so he wants the power to set these things up, but he doesn't say, I wonder how Lori Adobe's going to feel about that and whether she's afraid of, he's not thinking of any of that.
Well, similar to Donald.
Pardon?
So it's similar to Donald Trump. So in that regard,
Donald Trump is incapable, but Elon Musk is capable. It's even scarier.
Yes. Let me ask, what's Elon's plans? What other countries does he want to meddle in?
He's Eastern Europe, and he is very much pro-Russia taking over the US. You see, he's already meddling in those kinds of ways. And he glad hands some of the worst people in the world. We say worst people in the world. These are the ones with the dictatorial drive, like in North Korea and certain aspects of Asia. One moment. But his convivial attitudes to Russia continuing the war, that kind of thing is really a bit frightening because he can afford to keep it going. You know that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Will he be taken down financially?
Yes, but not yet. It'll probably be after March.
And this is part of his getting dethroned, so to speak.
Yes. And he might even be, well, we don't like to say this kind of thing, but he might actually be murdered.
I was wondering, I can feel that in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I think about that, and it feels it's possible.
Now, the interesting thing is, these are things that we probably shouldn't set out into the world, so we'll just back up a little. But he is, in many ways, more dangerous than Mr. Trump.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, more dangerous.
Yes.
But part of it is, if Mr. Trump is assassinated, the networking of people who are part of his tribe, if you will carry on just fine. Thank you very much. So it's not like an ending for people who are trying to get rid of him. It's more like seeding a different kind of a wave going around the world. But we don't see Elon Musk having that kind of affinity with people.
Wow.
We're not advocating to go off and murder the people that are in your way. You know that.
No. This is for entertainment purposes only, and we are not. We're here just to be the news behind the veil, so to speak, because.
Well, what you also are doing, which is wonderful, is watching the tides turn in different places. Because as you know, when people think a certain way and can send in their vibration and their consciousness to support something, they can aid the changing tides of political demand and political dominance, you understand?
Right. Yes.
So that's part of what we like to do with this kind of a setup, this kind of a show, is to encourage people to think on behalf of the human, what would you call it, the human possibility, the human evolution, the human cohesion around the world, the human, well, evolution is the best word, bringing countries into a much higher sense of cooperation, love, education, whatever you are wanting, idealizing, you see?
Right. Yes.
And that is our biggest drive for these shows. Go ahead.
Yes. And here's a good one on a more up note. Does Jimmy Carter have any messages for us now that
he has. He is a very, very fine spirit. He is mostly seconding what we said. I mean, he wants people to realize that he was always very tolerant. Do you understand that? But he's saying that having tolerance is going to help the whole world so much better. And there is an opportunity coming for a much more soothing political approach. He's smiling because he believes, he and his wife believe so much in nurturing the people, you see? And he sees that that is still possible.
Mhm.
And he also is supporting Mr. Biden. Not that this is political rhetoric, but he's saying he is holding positions that will develop more consciousness in people all over the world. You understand that?
Mhm.
Consciousness being you're not dog against dog, you're helping one another, helping one another build better communities, so on.
Yeah, he did an incredible job with Habitat for Humanity. My mom worked with them for almost 15 years, building houses in low-income communities. And
With Mr. Carter?
yes, this was his
Yes.
program, Habitat for Humanity. Really a brilliant program.
And his wife worked very, very hard right alongside of him.
Mhm. So I want to mention anything else that Mr. Carter, President Carter, would like to tell us?
No, he's smiling. He's happy to be where he is. And he likes this perspective. And he thanks you for being someone who's bringing light into the world. This is very important.
That's beautiful. Speaking of light in the world, we have a historic march happening in Washington. It started today and goes till January 5th. And it's a peaceful march trying to invoke the 14th Amendment.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. And was wondering if this march will have much impact. I don't know the numbers of attendance. I don't know if it's building.
What is the impact of the 14th Amendment? Would you explain it? Because it seems like it's been washed out. People don't quite understand.
Yeah, this is about, this was a way to get Donald Trump not into office because of his insurrectionist activities. And the Supreme Court had said the only way it could be invoked to keep him out, basically, I'm just talking basics here, is that a 2/3 majority in Congress would have to vote in favor of not having him come into office because of his insurrectionist activities. So it's a mechanism that can be used, but will it be used is the hugest question.
It won't be as successful as you want it to be. And the reason for that is that people are wishy-washy. People are not sure if you understand, it's more like people saying, I don't know if that's going to make any difference, that kind of thing. And a lot of your voting populace did that kind of thing over this last election as well. So we're saying it's a weak approach right now. Now, but Mr. Trump is going to be stopped in 1 moment. But not because of this, but this also is foundational for some people's thinking. They're speaking together, the rallying together around this subject invokes in people a new consciousness, because some have not been bothered. This is the way it goes, and that's it. But some of those are waking up because of this particular occasion and because of all the discussions on it. So we're saying to you, yeah, there's progress being made. You see, there's progress being made, but whether it's enough right now to block his coming into office, his inauguration. But there are several things that might block the inauguration. Mostly it's from the Russian perspective.
Okay.
But it would be healthier for people to do it from the 14th Amendment so they have a sense of being American. And wanting to be solid about the Constitution. You understand? But that's very idealistic. We're not seeing that happening at this point.
There's a lot of cynicism.
Oh,
It's, you can
and you
cut it
can't
with a
blame
knife.
people, Lori.
You can cut it with a knife.
Yes.
I wanted to move to what's happening. It's fascinating because the US could really take some lessons from South Korea. The South Korea parliament now is weeding out corrupt politicians one by one, impeaching. They've already impeached 2 presidents, one after another. And the third one who's sitting in, who's, because the other 2 have left, the finance minister now is the seated president. They're going after him and they're trying to arrest. They've put out an arrest warrant for the president because of the martial law that he called against the legislation, the parliament, and the people. And unfortunately, the president's security forces are so huge around his compound. His private security forces are so huge that so far the police haven't been able to penetrate in order to get him and bring him to justice physically.
Well, we're going to say another thing, which is this whole conversation so far is getting power through subterfuge. So, for example, there is some very subtle underpinning of the society and the government there by, as you know, the women who have forbidden or refused to be a part of the way the system has gone. And they're moving in very subtle ways to undo the stability of those who are involved with the president. You see,
right?
The very, very subtle undermining kind of change that's going to make a big difference.
Right.
And that you're going to see that happening all over the world in a slightly different way. Understand?
Right.
This dominance thing has got to be whittled away or melted away or however you perceive it. But it probably won't happen with a direct confrontation.
Mm. And just to move to more spiritual, lofty ideas.
We like lofty.
Yes. Question, MIRICRIS, does doing spiritual work without having done personal growth, psychological work, does it work as well?
Yes, but not for everyone. What happens is if someone comes in with a spiritual message for someone, and that person is perhaps confused or insecure, or feeling less than, or even a criminal or something, that sometimes that spiritual perspective can be like a stick of dynamite. It can just shock the soul connection in such a way as the person begins to move what we call lickety split. And we say that many people have had huge turnarounds spiritually in themselves because of this kind of thing, an event that shook them. So we're saying, well, this is not always the best, the most recommended approach, but Lori, it does work. You understand? So for people to actually stand up and say something, about the ethics of being, for example, the ethics of Elon Musk and how much it costs, make up something about people suffering as a result, and how many people suffer and how he doesn't ever have to pay the penalty or something. Some people are going, how does that work? And the other thing is people who do explain it will talk about how it works spiritually and how whoever is the marauder can be afflicted and held back just because of people's waking up. It's called waking up, isn't it? So we're saying that can't happen all the time because it just isn't a setup all the time. But you're going to see it happening all over the place where people suddenly go, huh? And they begin to see that they're the only one in the universe. It's them, you see? And that takes them right into the spiritual. It may be hard for them, but it doesn't matter. They drop everything that they thought they knew.
Mhm.
I've read about many saints who have done that kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're not saying it's an approach for everyone, but we are saying it's not a failure as an approach.
Right. It can also be very dangerous, put into the wrong hands of somebody like, what's his name, from Nexium, cult leaders who basically present themselves as spiritual leaders and haven't done an ounce of personal psychological work on themselves. So yeah.
But that's absolutely true. However, you know, and we know that since time began, there have always been people like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so the best thing is to keep making it a challenging compatibility with people to really share their own personal empowerment.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of that, Lori.
Oh, thank you. I had another, I have to share with MIRICRIS. I had another strange experience today. As you know, 10 days ago, I saw lights in a field that kept changing in frequency. Today, I'm looking out my window there, that window in the background, and I'm all of a sudden I start blowing smoke. I'm not a smoker. I'm not smoking. There's no smoke in my house. All of a sudden there's smoke coming out of my mouth
Wow.
from my breath, from my breath. And I just sat there and I played with it. And I go, okay, I think something is happening again on a multi-dimensional.
Were you angry at all? Did you have
No,
an anger?
no,
So
nothing like
it's just
that.
a non sequitur.
I was looking out the window, sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden the smoke started coming out of my mouth.
That's so fun.
It's really one. It's a good sense of humor, whoever is doing all this with me. Clearly, fun crowd. So, last question, MIRICRIS. A while back, we talked about trees and plants, and we explored. We didn't get too deep into it, and what we're looking is, how do trees and plants communicate? What are their frequencies like?
You know, they're vibrational, and that they literally, and humans have this too, but we don't feel it very consciously, you know, but they literally fuel one another's growth with their frequencies. However, for example, there are areas of the world which are drying up, and those plants, those trees, have very little frequency. So their communication is more of loss, of deficits, you see. It's when the plants feel one another's resurgence of power, of resurgence of growth, they fuel one another's growth. They keep refueling more of it. But right now, there's huge sections of your planet that do not have the refueling potential amongst plants. Have you noticed that?
Mm. And you're saying that they operate on a vibrational.
Very much so.
Do they?
And if you have a sensing of scent, you'll notice you can smell the vibrations that they emit that will induce growth in fellow plants, if you will. You can smell it, you can sense it. And they have a similar, they don't have nostrils, as you know, but they have sensing tools that are vivid and very, very, very astute, one with the other.
Do they work at all on sound amongst?
Yes, of course. Anything to do with frequencies and sound, of course, is a beautiful, beautiful frequency tool. Did you know that you probably know this, but if you have put plants in your home, and if you're away and you get sick, your plant gets sick too.
Ah,
And that's something to use as a thumbnail, as the kind of thing that people need to understand, because humanity has to grow, not because they're bad, but because the understanding of how powerful the emanations from people, how powerful the emanations from trees and flowers and plants are. Because the whole world, if it got really in that alphabet, if you will, or in that kind of consciousness, the changes that could be made are horrendously huge, huge. And there will be so much less suffering. Now, jumping from that into, for example, oil production could actually be improved as well with the sensing of vibrations. But we know that that's not a direction you want humanity to go in right now. But we are saying it is possible and it is true. You see, rocks have wonderful frequencies too, don't they?
mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question, or do you have more?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I mean, I think we'll continue exploring it with some more in-depth questions in another show. We're going to launch into predictions part 2, MIRICRIS, and I think we should probably say goodbye for now.
Well, we honor you very much for the work you're doing, and we're very honored to be a part of it. And we send much love, and the frequencies that we have are meant to support and help others, and we trust that you can feel them at times. So much love to you.
Thank you, MIRICRIS.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.